all of my thinking. I have no idea how the world works anymore.
I don't either. I stopped pretending to act like I know anything. I don't. I know nothing. I'm quite empty-headed nowadays, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that idea. I'm okay with people thinking I'm an idiot.
It's perfectly fine.
It's a good thing. I'm okay with people thinking I'm just a housewife. I think it's pretty great, actually.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't need to be defined by anyone's standards.
Whatever people want to think.
Whatever they want to
Go ahead and think it.
Whatever gives them joy, as long as they're not hampering my day, by all means, have at it. Yeah. I was able to get through part of the link that you sent me. Not the whole thing. It's been
What
a
did I
busy
send
week.
you? Sorry.
About the wrongful.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a long one.
Yeah, it's a long one. It's really interesting though.
I wouldn't expect anybody. to
Was
get
it
through
wrongful accusation? Or
Yeah.
wrongful
imprisonment or something?
wrongful imprisonment? Yeah, wrongful conviction.
Wrongful convictions. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about that at all, or did something else come to you?
No, I mean that's a great topic. The wrongful convictions thing is something that, I mean, we all know about to a little bit. There's been movies about it, but
Yeah.
you know, we don't really know the extent of it because we don't live it. But there's that episode just goes to show like how it goes deep, right? It's pretty gross how deep it goes. But it also brings up a point where, have you heard about this defunding the police thing?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it especially got big after the whole, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter movement. So
Well, are
the
you aware
defunding the
that?
police issue, I feel, became very big immediately following those events.
Oh, okay. So this had it been going on before that? Was it a thing like years
I
ago,
don't-
or is it just?
I
brand
honestly
new?
can't tell you. I don't know how much because I wasn't aware of it. I was not aware of it.
I
I
see.
only became aware of it as a result of those
I
events
see.
happening.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was just people talking on the internet, right? But apparently, it's actually something that's happening.
It's actually started happening, didn't it?
Yeah.
In different areas.
Yeah. Sal
Even
told me.
here, right?
Yeah, his sheriff's department has been defunded by a lot.
What does that mean, though?
Yeah, that's a good
for
question.
people out there.
He's unclear either as to what it means.
So Sal, our friend
Yeah.
Sal, and Jay's ex-lover / current roommate.
Yeah. We have a good relationship.
No, they're just longtime friends. So Sal doesn't even understand because he's a police officer.
Yeah, he's a gang detective.
A gang detective.
So there are certain they have these titles from deputies to detectives, and there's all these bureaus or whatever, and apparently a lot of them are getting defunded. They're losing their funding, and so I just started asking myself, like, what does that really mean? If it's actually happening, it means that something happened, not just like the George Floyd thing, but somebody took that and wrote something into law or did something for it to actually take effect, because usually things don't take effect, right? So my question is, what are we doing with the funding? And I would like to propose to let's fund peace officers, because police officers uphold policy while peace officers keep the peace. And if we go outside, we'll notice for the majority of the part, things are usually fairly peaceful. And so the peace officer's job now would be to make sure it stays that way. And so politically speaking, I don't know politics. I don't pretend to know. I don't follow them. I don't want to know about them because it seems like they're just traps. Nevertheless, I feel like really small government speaking from just like a city-wide effort. If we can defund police in a citywide and fund peace officers, because we understand as a whole how politics work now, where it's like, if I want to run for mayor or something like that, I would approach you or somebody like a business owner, and I'd be like, hey, sponsor me.
Right.
Make me mayor of the city. It's going to be awesome. And you're probably going to say something like, well, what are you going to do for me? Right? And then...
Because it's always about what I get out of this.
Sure. And so I'm going to say something like, well, I'm going to make this law that people are going to be obligated to pay certain taxes, and that's going to benefit your type of business. And you're going to be like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. numbers make sense. And we all know that these little conversations are going on behind closed doors, and this is how our governments are ran. And it's just, this is what they call special interests, big business, blah, blah, blah. Nevertheless, we know of it now, but we keep giving our money to these same people that are just blatantly lying to us. And it's just, since I was a kid, it's just always happens where, oh, they said this, they said they were going to do this, and they did this. Well, they said, they're always lying. And then yet we're still playing in their political game. We're still giving them the power. But the power is really within us. We're not coordinated. We're not on the same page about things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, I'm not going to get too into it, but mostly because we don't know who we are individually. We don't know who our neighbors are. And so there's a lack of trust. And so we'd rather trust this other person who is at least well-spoken and well-dressed, and he may be lying to us, but maybe he's not. And we kind of just leave it up to chance, and we continue to play that game. But I'm hoping that this sheds light, because we all know that this is how it's played now. It's not like we've always known, but we know now. And if we could somehow get together, like, because the only thing we could ever think of doing is like protesting outside of these buildings, but it doesn't work necessarily. I'm not sure if it works.
You don't think protesting works at all? Do you feel like it doesn't get a message across? Or it only highlights, it brings attention to something, but it doesn't cause change?
I don't feel it works because, like, whatever it's being protested, I feel like the people who are being protested against will send out people pretending to be protesters to cause trouble and make it look like it's something else.
So it goes from protesting to rioting.
Exactly. So
it undermines
the
it.
protesting, I don't believe in it. I feel like there's more power in the written word. If we all knew how to write the same letter, that would be way more effective than picket signs. And so I just want to put it out there. I don't have the solution, but I just have a thought that I wanted to share, which is, if we're defunding police, because we already know that if as citizens we're paying a certain group of people to keep us safe, then there shouldn't be an incentive for them to go out there and penalize us for running red lights or speeding or things that...
You don't feel like that contributes to maintaining...
It doesn't. And then instead, like, the peace officer's job would be, like, if somebody does run a red light and they're being, like, reckless, they pull them over and they just alert them of the danger that they put people in, that they put themselves in, and the consequences that could potentially happen if next time you can cause an accident, you can hurt someone, and that is a crime. But since nothing happened, like, I just stopped you to warn you, man. Like, is everything okay?
So you're saying that it should only be if something should happen, should people serve punishment for that? Because that's something that happened.
Because
there are consequences. But if nothing has happened, you feel like it's unnecessary.
And it's we think it's like like stopping a crime before it happens.
Like Minority Report.
But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, because we're still gonna do the speeding or red light. Depends on how much of a
it's just that people behave better when they know someone's watching. But otherwise, they would still do it regardless.
And at the end of the day, it's the people that can't afford it that really end up getting screwed over. Because, I mean, if I have money, then I'll speed all day and just pay the fines and I'm good. But
I see. So you feel like the fines are biased more against people who can't afford these things.
Right, the people who are struggling.
Everyone's doing it, but it affects one group of people more than another.
Absolutely. And so, but I feel like it's not helping either way. So the peace officer's job would just be to warn you, like, hey man, slow down next time, you can cause an accident. But he has no authority to ask for any identification or pull you out of the car.
Radical.
I know it's radical, right? Or there's never gonna be...
I don't hate that idea though.
It's not, there's no longer a policy to uphold. Now things are at peace right now. I only stopped you because you did something dangerous, and I wanted to make sure you were okay, to make sure you were safe, and hopefully to deter you from doing it again in the future. Mm-hmm. And that's all the authority they would have. And they would go back to their little corner and they're not going to be eating donuts. The peace officers don't eat donuts anymore. They're very fit. they're very positive role models in our community, and they're people that we actually look up to, like firemen. Somewhere along the way, we lost our trust in police. It's because they started taking advantage of their power, and not even by their own knowing. It's not like they got it on their own.
Subconsciously manipulated into that.
Sure. And so that's the trick too. Like once these things come out into light, there's going to be a lot of anger, even more so than there is now. And I would like to encourage people to just let bygones be bygones. Like people have been playing this role of police officer for a long time, and they've been doing things that are against the law, really. But they've been doing it because they were following orders, and also because they're caught up by the momentum of their story, and they're angry, and their wife is their relationships are a piece of shit or whatever it is, and they have issues too. So I just want to wipe the slate clean. I want an opportunity to where can we get on the same page where it doesn't matter the building, like because we're all on the internet already. Like if we can get in a community, because that's what we want anyway. We all want to be a part of a community. We all want to add value to that community. We just don't really know how it works. And I just want to put it out there and see maybe we can do something.
I think a lot of people would love the idea of not being pulled over for a speeding ticket.
Sure.
Or making...
That's like the bare minimum of it, but okay.
I know, it's the bare minimum. But I like the idea of making the police officer kind of like the true protector of the people and seen as a positive role model.
Yeah.
But not seeing as someone that people in society are afraid to be near. Because I think the feeling of a lot of people when they see a police officer coming toward them, they're just like, ugh, why is this person coming toward me? As opposed to seeing this person as someone who I feel is really protecting us. I think that's the real psyche that is going around amongst police officers. And that's probably the narrative that's shown in the media as well. And unfortunately, a lot of, because of the way a lot of police officers are trained as well, a lot of them do abuse their power. Not to say all. I don't want to
It's
blanket.
probably very few of them.
Yeah, but those are the ones that hit the news, right?
Yeah.
But there's enough of them to be an issue. Enough of them that are abusing their power that is costing the lives of innocent people. Right? So it would have to be, in my opinion, it's not just a retraining thing. It's like a clean slate. The whole system has to be changed.
Doesn't it?
You don't think so?
Yeah.
It does have to be changed because it's at the very core of it. Even by the hiring practices of the types of people who are accepted into police academies. There is from what I understand, a specific type of personality.
Yeah.
I think they want people who just, they want people who will take the orders and will just do as they're told. And they're having people deal with situations that are potentially dangerous that I don't think just a couple months in a police academy can really train you for. That creates a very volatile situation in my mind.
Yeah.
And then that's why you get these issues of people who are shot when they're not even really doing anything harmful, because it's a lot of fear-based teaching.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful to anyone. Going back to the question of, so what does it really mean to defund the police? I'm sure we can look this up online, but I think I'm still trying to figure out what that really means. It doesn't mean that, so you said your Sal's unit was actually defunded, right? But Sal's still working, correct?
Yeah.
So he's still working.
Yeah,
still
his was not defunded.
Oh, his was not defunded.
Yeah, his core team was not defunded, but others it's a huge department apparently, a huge.
So does that mean people get laid off? Does that mean resources are reallocated? What does that mean?
Yes.
All of that.
But I don't have the details. I don't really know.
That was a tangent I was not expecting us to go on.
Yeah, me neither. But it was on my mind, and so Now it's not. Now it's out.
Peace officers.
Peace
Even
officers.
The idea of even changing the word, the label
I
from
love
police,
it so much.
police officer to peace officer. So policing means like people are monitoring you, in a way, micromanaging your behavior, right?
Yeah.
Policing you. Whereas peace is just like, this is someone who has my best interests in mind.
Yeah, imagine cars on the street with the word peace on them. Oh, that would be sweet.
Instead of police officer, peace officer.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Peace.
That's PR. On a PR level, it's all about branding, right?
It is.
In this day and age where everyone is a brand ambassador and it's all about an aesthetic and it's all about how something makes you feel.
So this is something we have to start. Like, if we have to start a new business where we're hiring ex-police officers and we're gonna hire you as peace officers, and the police aren't getting funding anymore, so
What you're talking about is a private endeavor, a private enterprise.
I like the idea of private because I don't like the idea of making things public for the
Police
sake of
officers
public.
are public employees, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is a private enterprise.
I like it because you see the mayor runs things as if it was a private enterprise, right? He doesn't do things for the people. He doesn't run things by us. There's like, he's just going with the politics of things. But what if we, the people, just stopped paying into it? We're like, no, we don't like the way you do things, and we're gonna fund this private company over here who has our best interests at stake. And the private company has an incentive now to provide what they're selling in reality.
How would they be incentivized? I'm just curious. Let's play this thought.
Let's play it out.
Let's play this thought experiment out. So would it be like an Uber where like the public will give ratings?
Absolutely. It's Yelp for the peace officers. If they're messing around, because
if someone gets enough complaints, they just no longer are allowed to serve.
maybe they'll get some time off. We're all about forgiveness, but
So that's what I'm wondering.
yeah, I don't know the details of it. You know, I'm just a big thinker.
But why? I'm still wondering how they would be incentivized. So if it was a private enterprise,
Yeah,
who's funding them?
private. So it's because I'm going to tell you about it, and you like it, and you're like, oh, I'd like to invest in something like that. And so instead of funding like how do we pay? Like, they just take it from your paycheck or something? Like, how do we
Taxes? Yeah, taxes from the city.
Yeah. So we're gonna, instead of paying those taxes, we're gonna pay that to fund the peace officer, private peace officer. And then so it'll work only if people back it. You see, like, the police officer thing works because people are forced and obligated into funding them. But if we just found out that we just refused, that they were voluntary donations rather than forced on taxation, then we would voluntarily donate our money to the cause that we really do believe in, rather than the ones we're obligated to.
So one problem I can see with the whole privatized peace officers, that means that would kind of go with the idea that only some people would have access to these peace officers based on who's paying for it. Let's say, I'm assuming not everyone can pay for it, right?
I see.
Yeah, and then there'd be neighborhoods that would develop that don't have the funds, and they wouldn't have much access to peace officers, and those would be the areas where crime would be centered and would grow.
It would be worth an experiment, because some would argue that those crime-ridden neighborhoods are crime-ridden with police officers there anyway. And so if the police officers are defunded, who's going to be there anyway? And maybe the towns and cities that are prospering more can help out the ones that are not prospering as much. And
Or do you think, let's say, peace officers should be not necessarily employees of the public sector, but contractors?
okay,
Like, let's say cities can choose to contract with this peace officer enterprise.
maybe.
Just wondering, just playing this out.
Yeah.
Or do you think there should still be police officers that are employees of the state or employees of the city?
I don't want police anymore.
No,
Because they're upholding policy. I don't want people upholding policy.
Mm.
Let's forget about the politics of things. I just want safe streets.
Well, what you're saying is policy. Policy is different from politics, though. Policy is more about rules and regulations. Yeah.
Well, politics revolves around introducing policy and making it into law.
Sure.
What makes us believe it's law when it's policy? They get confused.
So no police officers in general. All
Only
paramedics.
peace officers.
Only peace.
Only peace.
Well, what if so that's my other question. What if they're peace officers but working for the city, working in the public interest, but on the public's payroll, basically?
Well, if we're all on the same page about things,
Yeah.
where they're not allowed to like mess with people, and they're not allowed to bully people, then fine, they can, as long as they're called peace.
You just want them to be called peace officers.
Yeah, and actually follow through with that. Because here's why: when a police officer takes an oath, they're actually, the words that they're saying says peace officer. It's in the oath. That's why they get accused so much of not upkeeping their oath.
Upholding
They
their
get
oath.
accused of that all the time, and they themselves don't know
What that means.
but nobody's asking the question, like, why are we peace officers when we do the oath, but afterwards we're not peace officers, we're police officers now. So what? Nobody's asking, like, what do these words mean? And I'm just proposing, like, let's
Because it's the type of people they're hiring. They're hiring people who are not questioning any of this
right on purpose.
on purpose.
If you do question it, you're not hired.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not for us. Maybe you should go elsewhere. But thank you for your interest.
Yeah. And I get it. I understand that the system is literally set up to fail.
The system is set up to fail. I do believe that. Like I said, you're putting people through an academy for a couple of months to deal with situations that most people are not equipped to deal with, not emotionally equipped.
And they don't
even
train
advanced
for it.
people. And they're not truly trained. They're kind of learning as they go. So you could be sending someone into a dangerous situation where they're learning in the moment. How effective is that going to be?
Yeah, it's not.
How
effective.
helpful is that going to be?
Yeah, it's not helpful. It's not effective. I do have good news, though. I do feel like
Please
we're
tell me.
moving in the right direction.
We're in desperate need of some good news right now.
Well, my friend Sal, you know, I'm a gang detective. He wants to start a podcast where he's going to be interviewing cops. And
Whoa.
yeah, and like it's going to be like confessions. Confessions
so,
of.
Are they going to be in a wooden box and there's a sliding door? And then Sal's going to be on one side and he goes,
That would be good. I would like that.
tell me your sins. And prescribe 10 Hail Marys.
Yeah, right. No, I think mostly what I really would like to see if he's able to pull it off is like to clear up misunderstandings between police officers and the public, and just to, because they don't know either. You see, they think they're doing good, and they're confused even more than us as to why these things happen the way they do. As far as like when police officers take things upon themselves and hurt people, and then nothing happens to them. Even they wonder why that is. They don't know why it's happening either. None of us do. And it's because the people running things, that's how they want it. It's like that cartoon character where he's just angry and making decisions based off of that anger, and he's like, I don't care who gets hurt. You know, just do it.
Just hurt somebody.
You know, just do
This
this.
anger needs to go somewhere.
And then the person he's yelling at is cowarding, and then he goes and instills that authority over somebody else weaker than him, and it just continues right on down until, you know, somebody gets hurt, which is inevitable. The only way that we can put a stop to it is to just start talking about it. And I feel like if our own if our own peace officers, because Sal considers himself a peace officer. He doesn't want. He's never wanted to uphold policy. He just doesn't.
It doesn't
because,
seem like his style, personally.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing too. Like, I think he slipped through the cracks somehow. Like, he's not a good cop. He's just.
He cheated the system.
Yeah, somehow he cheated the system. But maybe they really needed people to fill the shoes back then. But I feel like it could go somewhere positive where we start to realize that these men and women playing the role of police officer, even the ones who are hurting people and who are super ego, even they don't want it to be like that. They're caught up in the momentum of the story, and the momentum is strong. It's fierce. You're not going to be able to resist that momentum with a weak mind. You're going to have to really stand up for what you believe in. And in order to do that, you're really going to have to know yourself and know what you believe in the first place. It's not an easy feat. I'm very optimistic.
I would love to have a conversation with a police officer, because there are so many things that I don't want to assume about what their day-to-day life is or what their day-to-day work looks like. Like, how much say do they get in anything? I imagine little, but I wonder how they think about that. How they feel about how they're perceived, or like, do they get feedback at all from the public? Like, is there any access that they have to that, or what kind of public outreach? Like, I know in general, like some police departments try to like get in touch with the public after, especially again, a lot of the recent events that have happened. But to what extent is that actually prioritized? Do they rethink anything about how they portray themselves or deal with the public, or reassess how they're trained at all? Like, I'm just curious as to know how any of that is, if any of that gets affected by the public consciousness at all. Be an interesting question.
Yeah, it's good questions. We can get some cops in here.
What?
We can get some cops in here. I know a really good cop. He's retiring now because he's a little bit too traumatized.
Really?
Yeah.
Too traumatized.
Yeah.
Traumatized by what?
He went to Afghanistan like 3 times. He's been in war. He's killed people. He killed a guy at Norm's one time, the restaurant Norm's. He was off duty, and there was a guy that came into the restaurant and held it up at gunpoint, and he killed him.
Shot him. So he's traumatized by having to take life, or having had taken life.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be just the beginning of it. Like he's got some PTSD.
Heavy
He's been experimenting, I think, with some mushrooms. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He's super sweet, super nice guy. Very intimidating looking, but super tatted down.
Really?
Yeah.
So wait, he was in the military and then he became a police officer?
Mm-hmm.
Lord.
Yeah.
I imagine there's a lot of trauma in him. From war, from being out in the field to...
Yeah. I would imagine it would be very therapeutic for him to get some stuff out.
No judgment. I just genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
I would love to have that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great. That would get lots of hits.
I'm sure.
Because we're all about pandering.
Are we? You know, I did realize that I should include the audience more in our...
When you edit these, do you like talk to the screen ever?
No.
No, I don't see you. You're so in the moment. You're still talking with me, and I'm always aware of like the fourth wall.
Yeah, I need to do that more. Invite, because then it looks like people are peeking in and not a part of it. But I want you to be a part of it. Come.
Join us.
Come to me.
No, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do. Please come to me. I need your love.
And then people that respond to that, you don't want them.
I'm defined by what you think of me. I have no inherent value. Sorry, I can go on for a long time. I think I lived in that mindset for a long time, so I'm very familiar with it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I would love to. If you could actually set up a time where we can actually talk to a police officer or a retired one, just so we can pick his brain
Yeah.
and have an actual conversation.
Yeah, I think mostly he wants to not feel like he's being interrogated or attacked in any way, and I think we can do that.
I think
for
we
him.
can talk about. I don't believe that talking about uncomfortable things has to feel antagonistic.
Yeah.
I mean, out of genuine curiosity, like if I would ask, like, do you feel like, in terms of how you dealt with people, was there ever any racial undertones? And that's just a genuine question. Like, do you feel like there was anything that racism was an issue amongst the race at all? Or was it, if so, was it conscious or unconscious? But I'm not gonna judge you. Like, you're gonna tell me what you say. Well, if he decides to take it as an insult, he can. But I'm sure these are questions where you hear things about a narrative in the public, right?
Yeah.
Police hate ethnic people. Is that true at all?
I think just people hate people.
Yeah. Okay. So, but like, I'd like to hear it from his perspective and how he describes that and how he talks about that.
Yeah.
But I don't have any attachment to that. Just asking questions, right? Or does he feel like he was ever? Did he ever felt like he was misunderstood because of the badge? I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
What would he wish that was done differently while he was working? You know, just very simple questions. And if something makes him uncomfortable, I think it's worth talking about. Why does that make you uncomfortable? Why do you feel such a visceral reaction to this? Yeah. What experience have you had that makes you react a certain way to a certain word? Do you feel? Did you really feel more of a police officer or a peace officer? There's a difference, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I love this conversation.
Yeah.
I think we can go to great places.
Yeah.
We'll bring some cops in here and have them just open wide. They're gonna start crying. I know they are.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I do make people cry. And I don't mean this like on purpose, though I'm really good at doing that too. But I'm really good at just making people cry. I think because I'm just trying to see them as a person, and sometimes people feel like, oh, I just can let it all out.
You can see me for who I
And-
really am.
And I feel beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, not to put Sal on blast, but I'm fairly sure I've made Sal cry.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
And that's just because I'm just trying to hear him out, just person to person, not like be like, hey, all you people are doing this wrong.
Crying is the new laughter. It's the new thing.
There's a very thin line between crying and laughing. Yeah, they're all strong reactions of usually a surprise or just a shock to the system of some kind, whether positive or negative. And it's all the difference is how you're taking it. That's all. Yeah, there are some things that are sad, funny, or funny, sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're skating right in that line.
That's this life. It's mostly sad funny.
It's I would say everything is sad, funny. What is it? Remember, funny comedy is tragedy plus time. Maybe too attached to it, so you don't see the humor in it yet.
Too soon.
But after a while, you're like, oh, that's actually pretty funny.
I get it.
That's tragically funny.
You're finally in on the joke.
Yeah, the cosmic joke. Oh man, what else has been on your mind, Jake? Since we weren't able to connect last week.
Yeah.
Talk about whatever. I want to just run at this for the time that we have.
I've just been talking about the personality things and
Ad nauseum. Are people tired of the whole personality, the 16?
more people are getting more excited about it.
Ooh,
Could you
in
believe
what way? I can't believe it because I feel like we talk about it all the time, and I feel like people just get so tired of us talking about it.
No, that's not the case. People ask me. They want more.
Who's asking you?
The people, Angela. The people.
People.
The people want more.
Who? And what are they asking?
They're curious about what their personalities are, and they
should
want to
be
have
telling
these big
themselves.
conversations. You know what I've noticed about people who are into this personality thing? They're really into like talking about big ideas. They're not small talk, and I appreciate that. And if I can find a group of people who is into talking big, I like it.
It's all about talking big.
It's all about
Sometimes
talking
it's not
big.
about size. Sometimes it's about the feeling. What if they're talking small but with feeling? How about that? You know, it's about how you talk small, not about whether the talk is small.
That's because you're a feeler, Angela.
I am a feeler. I feel deeply, so none of that
I get it.
matters.
It depends. Depends who you're talking to.
Okay, but so what kind, like, for example, what kinds of questions are people asking you? Just to what personality, I mean, what does that mean?
Like, for instance, I had a conversation recently with these people who have been doing this personality thing for a few years now. And so they were able to, like, in our conversation, they were able to tell me, like, oh, that's like an FE thing. And that's, so they were like trying to type me, but then I was just like, oh, that's because I've been working on this, but I'm really like this. And so even strangers that have just met me, they've been able to see that someone with my personality trait can really see things and clear things up for people in a much more simplistic way than they can do it themselves. So they feel like, what is it, the STPs? Like I'm an ISTP, but either you're
Sensory, so sensor, thinker, perceiver.
Yeah. So either introverted or extroverted. The STPs in general have this ability to simplify things for people, where they actually get it. These big concepts, and they don't get lost. And we have the ability to teach in a way where it's accepted on a large scale. And I appreciated it. I took it as a compliment. And I do feel that way. I do feel like that's why I want to do this and practice, because I want to get better at it, even more efficient. Because, as you know, Angela, things take a long time to say, because words, they take so long. You know how, like, when you go to like a business seminar or something, it takes like 3 days, and it's all day of just people talking. It just takes so long to translate these ideas.
I feel like it can take less time.
It can take less time.
Yeah.
We just
But
have
I
to
guess
be a little bit more efficient.
I do feel like sometimes it takes people to get to a certain level of understanding for you to be able to understand more without having to say so much.
Yes.
I think for people who don't get things as quickly, or who don't have a lot of points of reference, or don't have a lot of background, or just generally obtuse people, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Some people are just obtuse about something. Like, you don't know everything, so you don't know about one thing or another, right? I think those people need more words. So that takes time. But the more you know, the less time it'll take.
No.
Yeah. So start early. Start understanding the self early. Start trying to figure out where you need to supplement your attentions, because you've been working on things. So the thing about you is that I think you're literally spending more time because you're trying to exercise something in you, but not because you didn't inherently understand it before, right?
Yeah.
I feel that way about you. I feel like you understand a great deal. But we are exercising this verbal muscle. It's one thing to understand, it's another thing to be able to convey that understanding.
Yeah.
And not even just to convey that understanding, but to help someone else see things from your point of view.
Yeah. To help people,
even changing minds.
To help people see other people's point of view.
Right.
Like, we're just not seeing the big picture of things. We're only seeing things from our point of view, and
yeah,
that needs to change.
You're venturing out. So you're venturing out and talking to more people. That's why it's taking more time.
Yeah.
But if you were just to keep it to yourself, we'd probably take it really quickly. Yeah. Good.
We're on the same
We're on the same page. Exactly. That doesn't take that. But and that's what life is about, though. It may sound like I'm discouraging that, like, oh, this takes time. But no. Anything that requires building a community takes time. It takes effort. It doesn't just happen. So this idea that you can just go into a room and just be like, hey, say some words, and then it's done.
Yeah.
that's assuming a lot. That's assuming a great base of things, right?
Yeah.
But it takes a lot more to make sure like you're really truly on the same page with a lot of different people. And to build the rapport. Not just build rapport, build trust. Sometimes if someone doesn't trust you, it feels like it can take a long time to explain something to them, right? Because they're constantly questioning you.
Yeah.
But if someone trusts you, they'll be like, sure, that makes sense, right? So there's all these other things that I believe go into how you need to communicate with somebody.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It's not in my comfort zone, for sure.
What's not in your comfort zone?
Practicing
Words.
talking.
Are you comfortable talking to me?
I am. Yeah.
Who makes you uncomfortable? Is there
Who makes me
Is there a
uncomfortable?
specific person or just types of people?
Types of people that make
People
me
in
uncomfortable.
uniform?
Sure. People who think they have authority make me uncomfortable.
Really? Why?
Because they don't. And they're just pretending like they do, and then they act like it, and that can be harmful.
So are you uncomfortable that people are misunderstanding their actual authority and could actually hurt people as a result?
I think that's the case with not only police officers, just people in general who feel they have authority, whether it be because they're bigger, they're smarter.
Have you come across that recently, or not really?
I just notice it. I've been noticing it for a long time. It's always something I don't like.
Is it more like when you observe public figures?
Public figures. Like how?
Celebrities, politicians.
Yeah, well, because those are the people that pretend like they know more than anybody.
Mm-hmm. So those people, when you see them, do you have a visceral reaction like, ugh?
No, it's more like, cute.
Cute. Okay, so it's not.
I
that's
see
not
people
discomfort.
I see everywhere I look. Whenever I see like a dirtbag, a jerk, whatever, I just see a big baby. That's what I see. Like, you know how when kids throw their tantrums and they're just like, that's what I see with like police officers that take things too far. Anybody that takes things
They
too
look
far.
like big babies to
They
you?
just look like big babies to me.
Is it
And then-
really cute, or is it like an annoying baby?
It's an annoying
That you're
baby.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a cute baby. And the tantrum passes. And if you're patient enough to let that tantrum pass, and patient enough to talk to people on their level and bring them down to a reasonable understanding, like that's really all I want. And I could do it. I'm capable of doing it on a one-on-one basis all the time. There's no conflict in my life.
Right.
Because I'm really good at finding resolutions. I'm really good at understanding where people are coming from and asking genuine questions, and they are genuine. Like I'm not asking, my agenda is simply to understand you better.
I'm going off on a little tangent, but still kind of related to the 16-point personality thing.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still practicing this thing where you're just saying what's on your mind and seeing the effect and just kind of amending what you say as you go?
No, I let that go, Angela. I learn fast. I'm a fast learner.
So you let that go? Why? Tell me why.
Because
it's not
it's not necessary to put into practice in this third dimensional reality, because what I want out of it is to replace my little thought with a positive thought. So I don't need to say it to acknowledge it and replaise it within myself.
You just need to be like, that's a negative thought. Let's think of different ways I can say this.
Let's find the opposite of this.
I agree. I agree with this.
Yeah.
Well,
And then if that positive thing is if it didn't take me that long to think of and it still fits into the conversation, then I'll go ahead and say the positive thing.
So what did you just say? Would you think that you did that just to see for scientific purposes?
I had to see it because I hadn't realized it before.
Oh, but then when you started realizing it, and I think fairly quickly, you're like,
2 times. I'm good. The second time was just to make sure. Just to make sure.
were both times with me?
No. One was with you, one was with Jade.
The two worst people to do that with.
Well, I know my audience.
Really? What was it, Jade? Tell me the one with Jade. Because I know what happened with you and May.
The Jade, what was it? It was, it's so, I don't even want to say it.
Oh.
I'll say it.
Now you have to.
Fine. She was just like, because Jade has kind of like a short memory sometimes, so she'll repeat herself.
She does,
right?
yeah.
So she just tells me like a few days after the big news in our tribe, which was that Alicia left. She asked, "Did you hear the big news?" And I'm like, "More big news?" And she's like, "The Alicia thing." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I already know. I got it."
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I realized like that it was still bothering her, right? So I said, what did I say? Jesus, so insensitive.
It's okay. We can cut this part out. No, just.
I just said, feeling. I know. I'm working on it, or something like that. And then but like her expression on her face, she was like, then she did like that gesture, like to kick me, like jokingly, like you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my second time. I was like, oh yeah, okay, now I get it.
So okay, what should we do next time? Should you feel, or do you? Because you're basically saying like I don't care that much.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying I do care, but I thought there was going to be something more.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, but I'm not going to react again because I already did it. Like I already reacted to it. So I'm not sure what you want from me this time.
I see.
This is another insensitive thing that I'm saying.
I see.
But
as opposed to being like, oh yeah, just still letting that emotion ride, as opposed to being like, we did this already. That's what you mean. Okay.
no.
Fair enough. So what do you do? That's still my question still applies. Like, so what do you do in that situation? You just kind of just solemnly acknowledge it without being flippant about it.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't say anything. I'd keep that thought, but I'd acknowledge it and be like, well, what's a better thought? And that thought it could be, oh yeah, it's still fresh. It's still
fresh.
Yeah.
How are you? You can turn your mind to be like, okay, it's less about how I feel. Let's ask the person who's more deeply involved with it how they're feeling. That's a better thought, right? Than just being like, yes. Or
yes, that's you feeling. Yeah, I see that.
I see you feel things. It's great.
Yeah.
Good for you, human. For feeling things.
That's how I feel sometimes.
Do you?
Human.
But you're not. I don't think you're robotic at all. I do feel.
In my thinking, I'm robotic. But I act human.
You're really good at it.
Pretend.
You make me believe that you've become a real boy. I think that you may, which is so funny because you thought people who said that they were empathic or empathetic to be sociopaths, whereas I think based on this discussion,
that's not what I said. Don't mix my words up. Don't mix my words
Only
up.
sociopaths they say that they're an empath.
No,
that's what you said. Yes, you did.
No, I did not. No, I said, why are they telling me they're empathic?
Yeah.
It's like telling me they're not a sociopath.
Ah.
So that's not what you just said.
Oh, so maybe I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
So I thought when you said that you said that that they're not a sociopath would mean that they really are.
No. It means like it's unnecessary to say in the first place is the thought.
I see. Is the thought, which is, I feel is still incorrect.
Is it? I get it. I get it.
Forgive me for misunderstanding that in the first place.
Okay.
I did genuinely believe that you thought that people who said they were
I'm glad you cleared it up because I don't want misunderstandings. I don't think you're a sociopath.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't even thinking of you. I've never even considered you saying that to me. I don't remember you ever saying
I have on multiple occasions, especially on
that you're empathic.
Yeah. Remember when we had the superhero conversation?
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't the first thing I said. The first thing was I'm a chameleon, which is kind of sociopathic, to be honest. I can kind of become whatever. So I think that's why. Maybe it was my own personal projection. I was like, oh, maybe I am a sociopath.
There's a little bit of that, sure.
I think so. But hey, they say some of the most successful people in the world are sociopaths because they know how to connect with anybody, even if they don't feel that themselves. But who knows?
Okay.
Off topic. But okay, so that.
If you're a sociopath, comment below. Tell us what it's like.
Tell us what it's like to be a sociopath. And I'm genuinely serious. I don't think. Would a sociopath admit that they're a sociopath? I feel like I need to. For this, I need to talk to an actual expert.
No, they wouldn't admit it. They wouldn't admit it. It's their deep, dark secret.
Really? What's your deep, dark secret?
I'm alive.
Whoa. I don't think that's a secret, though.
It is.
How is that a secret? How is that a secret? How is being alive a secret?
Because you know that I'm alive, but you don't know that I know that I'm alive. Now you know.
Have you been taking plant medicine again? Are you on it right now as we speak?
Yeah. It reminds me, I do want to do a plant medicine podcast.
Oh, wow.
I know we've been talking about it.
We have been talking about it.
We'll do it soon. We could even just take one gram.
Fair. Understood.
And we can just explain to the people how we feel.
Okay. Understood. We could do that. I'm not terribly enamored with the idea of having that recorded, but for science.
For science.
Apparently not many people are watching this.
What do you want to do? People are watching this. Do not be misunderstood. This is world famous.
World
famous.
If you're talking like, oh, this changed my world, like a world.
Do you believe in timelines? Do you believe in multiverse?
I do actually, yes.
And how does it work? How does your belief in these things work?
How does my belief work?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my belief.
In timelines, in multiverse, what does that mean to you?
My belief. I think my belief affects my worldview. So my beliefs are my world in a way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't change the earth. The earth is always as it's been. The earth is the earth. But the world is what I perceive it to be. So I have total control over my world. Or when I tell you I bring you into my world, or let me step into your world, that's what it means, right? That's why when people say, I want to change the world, what they're really saying is I want to change the way people think about something. The world is what as it ever was. We're just on it. The earth and the world are two different things in my head. Okay? So technically, like you can see it from like a scientific perspective where there's a bunch of parallel universes going on, right? But what I believe is what I actually do and commit to. Like, had I made different choices, that alternate reality would have happened. That timeline, let's say, right? If I had done certain things, it sets off a chain of all these different events. But what I'm doing right, like I'm in this universe where I've made this specific set of decisions in my life, and I've kept this set of people in my life. So I'm living this timeline, but there's an infinite number.
And it's going somewhere.
And it's going.
And
somewhere.
You see where it's going.
And it's going.
And you act like it's going in that direction.
Right. And I'm cognizant of where I'm steering this based as a result of my actions and decisions and ways I think about it. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So is it possible to believe something but not act on those beliefs?
Yes.
And is that belief?
The acting upon it?
Not acting.
Not acting is that's still a belief.
What's a belief?
Not acting. I believe that I should not do that.
No, do you really believe in something if you're not willing to act upon your belief?
Oh no, I understand what you're saying. No, the type of person to ultimately believe what you're doing is really the true expression of what you believe or what you want. You can say all you want about these are my beliefs, but your actions are the real thing.
You can't just go like this, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I got my new life.
It's like when someone says, oh, I really want to visit you, but they haven't forever. The truth of the matter is they didn't really want to visit you. Or
they just want to tell you that they want to.
Or they want to visit you, but not as much as these other things that they're doing. That could be true as well. Yeah, I do want to visit you, but you're just not as important as all the other things I'm doing. People just tend to leave that part out though, because it's what? Sounds insensitive, right? I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. Sometimes I'd rather say, I do want to visit you, and just maintain that good friendship. Keeping open the opportunity that I will someday. It's just that it's not my priority right now, right? So I do believe your action really shows, at least the greater priority at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like your rendition of it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Sometimes I make sense. Not all the time. But occasionally, you know, if you were to like put a blindfold on and shoot at a target, one of them may hit the bullseye.
Luckily we got it on camera.
Whoa.
So we got your
The technology.
Well, Angela,
Yes.
is there anything else on your mind today?
On my mind, no. Like I said, I'm kind of empty-headed nowadays. I just like to talk and say things and do things.
Sounds
But
good.
I'm glad we got to catch up on a bunch of different things, because last week, again, we didn't get to see each other. Because
Thanks.
I really wanted to see you. But I had other things to do.
Yeah, I get it.
I can see why people leave that second part out.
I appreciate it.
You're
It's
welcome.
really, you can say either one, it wouldn't affect me. I wouldn't judge the
I know,
circumstance
for
either way.
you, I know you wouldn't judge it, and that's why I appreciate you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Until next time. I know
Until
it's
next
so
time.